Captain America Brave New World is the fourth film in the MCU Captain America franchise and is the first one we've gotten in almost a decade. Think about that. Sam Wilson, the new Captain America, and Thaddeus Ross, the new President of the United States, try to maintain peace against a new enemy looking to start a global war. In my opinion, the Captain America trilogy is easily the best trilogy that the MCU has ever given us. Those are not only fantastic superhero films, but films in general. Even the first one, which not a lot of people love, I don't really understand the hate for it. I think it's just as good as Winter Soldier or Civil War. I even love the Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV show. Yes, the villains were a bit muddled, but when it came to the overall discussions about what the symbol of Captain America meant, I thought that was extremely engaging. And even though I wasn't the biggest fan of Sam Wilson in the MCU, that show really got me on his side as the new Captain America. I explained this to you so that you can fully understand how disappointing I found this film to be. The best way I can describe the overall experience of this movie is aggressively mid. To be fair, there's nothing horrendous about the film, but at the same time, there's nothing memorable enough to be horrendous about the film. It feels completely inconsequential in terms of the long run of the MCU, and it honestly just bummed me out. But before I get into all of that, good things out of the way first. First of all, the acting from everyone is really good. Anthony Mackie once again proves that he is amazing as this character and is extremely inspiring as the new Captain America. Even though I didn't find the comedy of Danny Ramirez's character as the new Falcon all that funny, I actually did find the character himself extremely endearing, especially when pairing him up with Sam Wilson's more experienced attitude. Harrison Ford as Thaddeus Ross is where the acting sort of gets a little hit or miss. Don't get me wrong, I love Harrison Ford, but in this movie, it sort of feels miscast at times. Like, there are times in this movie where he's actually really good, especially when he's trying to convey just how much the character has turned a new leaf from where we've seen him previously. But at the same time, when the character had to be very angry and very aggressive, that's where the performance felt a little phoned in. But on the note of an aggressive and angry Thaddeus Ross, let's talk about Red Hulk. Red Hulk in this movie is awesome. Not only are the effects used on him surprisingly fantastic, but Red Hulk in this film actually itched a scratch that I've been having since 2015, and that is just seeing an all-out, angry, no-holds-bar Hulk. And we get that in this movie, and his carnage, his action sequences are awesome. It honestly feels like most of this movie's energy went into making Red Hulk as awesome as they possibly could make him. And I say that because the rest of the movie kind of feels like an afterthought. Because even though the effects used on Red Hulk are amazing, the effects used in the rest of the movie are very hit and miss. There are some effects that are okay, especially during the flying sequences, but there are some green screen moments that are distractingly awful. And along with the hit or miss effects, the action sequences are weirdly bad. Like, clearly there's some good choreography, but they always have the actors in shadow. There's rarely a wide shot used during the action sequences unless they're flying in the air or relying on the effects. There is not a single action sequence in this film that even came close to the opening action sequence of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That alone is a disgrace. And apparently this movie went through a ton of reshoots and a ton of different drafts of the script, and it really shows in the end product. The entire structure of this film can only be described as rushed. The script writing commandment of show don't tell is pretty much completely forgotten in this film. There's not a single moment where we see a character acting how they would usually act and those actions tell us about the character. They always have to explain what's happening. They always have to explain what's happened in their history, explain what's happening in the future, explain what's happening now as we're seeing it. Apparently, this is one of the shortest MCU movies to date, and It really feels that way in all of the worst ways. Not to mention the fact that the villain in this movie is easily one of the worst the MCU has ever given us. The villain in this movie is one of the most uninteresting and forgettable villains I've seen in a while, not just in a superhero film, but in any film in general. This film feels so forgettable and bland that, if I'm being honest, in terms of overall experience and memorability, Quantumania might actually be a better film. Sure, it's extremely cringeworthy with some awful effects at times, but at least it was memorable. It went all out. There's absolutely nothing in this film that stands out. You're constantly waiting for something to happen, something of interest, something of intensity, and it never comes. The only great scenes in this film are either hand-me-downs of Falcon and the Winter Soldier scenes, or just that one Red Hulk action sequence that you can just look up on YouTube. Even the end credit sequence in this film feels just as half-hearted as the rest of the film. As someone who loves Captain America, as someone who loves the MCU, as someone who was rooting for this film despite all of the production issues behind it, this is an absolute mess of a film and easily one of the worst and most forgettable films in the entire franchise. I'm gonna give Captain America Brave New World a D+. Because again, there is nothing objectively horrendous about the movie. You can watch it with a blank expression on your face and you will not feel like you're losing any brain cells, for instance. But don't get me wrong, this is a bad film and a testament to what happens with too much studio interference. Thank you all so much for watching. You guys are the best, and don't forget to click subscribe and click the bell icon down below to stay up to date on all things movie, all things TV, all things nerd.